Hi, trumpet player. If you want some tips to help you have confidence in stage, confidence in your ability on the horn, or if you want to overcome those endurance challenges, if you want to extend your range, you're in the right place. Because right now, I'm going to share my 7 maxims of trumpet playing. The first maxim is to keep the horn on your face. All this means is practice more often than you don't practice. All right. Now, I say this because there are unnecessary pressures that we put on ourselves to practice every day. And sure, practicing every single day can bring wonderful results. And at the same time, when we miss a day, it can lead to some negative thinking that gets out of hand, if I'm honest. And so I want to help reframe how we think about practice, and so that you can get better results, okay? Over the years, I've settled on practice more often than you don't. So when life happens and you're going to have to inevitably deal with some things that come up unexpectedly, you're going to have to push your practice session back further in the day than you hope to, or you might just have to skip a whole day. You know, when those things happen, it's okay. Just get back on the saddle. All right. The next point is too many people are looking for instant results from a little bit of practice. And this is not how the trumpet works. All right. So keep the horn on your face and things will slowly change to become what you imagined. All right. Now, if we practice, we'll reach our goals. I'm certain about that. One thing I love about the trumpet is that we have to put time in. There is no instant gratification. And so for me, I don't know about you, but for me, that's attractive. And that's one thing that keeps me coming back to practice, because there's so many examples of the great results that can happen from practicing. Let's look at your favorite trumpet players. I live in Chicago. There's a lot of great examples of that around me. There's a lot of great musicians here. All right. So the first maxim is to keep the horn on your face. As a teacher, I know that when you put the time in, you will reach your goals, but you got to keep a positive frame of mind along the way. Let's talk about maxim number 2, and that is to maintain a balanced practice routine. All right. So remember, we're talking about training the body to play the trumpet. We're training the body for trumpet playing. All right. I always think about any given athlete your favorite athlete. They're in great shape, but they have to train their body to be in great shape for the sport that they play. Right. It's possible to be in great shape and to still be out of shape for any given professional sport. So as trumpet players, we're athletes, right? And we have to practice for trumpet playing so that trumpet playing can become more simple for us. This is an unnatural physical act. Playing the trumpet is an unnatural physical act. So the transformation happens slowly over time. And once you get to a certain level, you have to maintain that. So that's why we have to practice more often than not. Why? Because the transformation that we've accomplished is lost faster than the amount of time it took you to accomplish the change. All right. So on one hand, that could be discouraging, but I choose to see it the other way, which is I get to practice trumpet even more, and I need to do it to maintain what I've earned. All right. So you want to maintain a balanced trumpet routine, or balanced practice routine. Actually, there's something else I want to say about that. We have, as trumpet players, the most common challenges that we have are centered around range and endurance, which is why right here on YouTube, there's a lot of videos that talk about range and endurance. I make them myself because these are the problems that we have. Now, I want you to know those are symptoms. In my opinion, those are symptoms of an unbalanced practice routine. Listen to me now. I'm telling you, if you have a balanced practice routine that you do on a regular basis, those endurance challenges, those range challenges will melt away, and you're going to have a better sound. So take time to practice a balanced routine. All right, let's go to maxim number 3, which is my body is the primary instrument. This simply means whatever I'm trying to accomplish on the trumpet can and should be executed in my body first. Okay, so this is both mental and physical. Once upon a time, my teacher told me that my embouchure was being held in place by the mouthpiece, and that should not be. And he recommended free buzzing to me. Okay, now, as it turns out, my other teacher, I had 2 teachers at the time, which I don't recommend 2 teachers at once, but I had 2 teachers at the time, and my other teacher also recommended free buzzing to me for a different reason, but the 2 reasons were connected. And so free buzzing is great for developing form. Now, I know there are other ways to develop form, but free buzzing is a great way to develop form, and it worked for me, so I talk about it all the time. People don't like that I talk about it, but it works. It's not for everybody, but it does work. All right, so free buzzing develops form, and guess what? You don't need the trumpet to practice it. All right, so that's a great example of my body is the primary instrument. So if I'm going to free buzz, check it out. Just a simple single note. I have good form, otherwise I would not be able to produce that note. And while I have good form, I could put the trumpet on top of my good form, and then I could play a beautiful sound, right? So that's just one example of my body as the primary instrument. Another example is to sing whatever it is that you have before you in terms of music. A lot of people choose to sing before they play it on the play the music on the trumpet, and that's a great habit to have because my body's the primary instrument. The reason why you are attracted to trumpet playing is because you have music inside of you that you need to get out and share with the world, and the trumpet is your chosen medium. All right, so what's coming out the bell is already inside you. Your body's the primary instrument. All right, so we have to practice so that what's in us can come out with or fewer obstacles. How about that? All right, so we want the music in us to come out freely, therefore we practice. All right, so my body's the primary instrument. So anything that you can do to produce the sound in your body first, do it. Singing or free buzzing or wind patterns, whatever you need to do. That's why we practice good posture. All right, my body's the primary instrument. It's a great thing to remember. All right, the next maxim, number 4, and these are not in any particular order. Number 4 is flexibility is the master key to trumpet playing. Flexibility unlocks all of the core challenges you're having on the trumpet. If you are ever pressed for time, or if you're hitting a wall and it seems like you're not passing the wall, practice flexibility. Okay? Claude Gordon taught us there's wind control, wind power, and tongue level. Those are the main 3 I want to address right now. Flexibility helps improve all of those. Wind power, wind control, and tongue level. All right? So when you practice flexibility, that's all 3 of those in one. All right? Now, something else. When you practice flexibility, the only way to do it well is to have good form. All right? So if you practice flexibility, you're practicing good form. There's no other way to accomplish it. And you're practicing wind control, you're practicing wind power, and you're practicing tongue level. And wind power, by the way, wind power does not mean blow as hard as you can. You don't want to do that. You'll get negative results. But you do want to be assertive. You do want to be intentional. So that's really what wind power means. Let's go on and talk about my 5th maxim, which is consider others better than yourself. So this really has to do with being a good bandmate and being a good person, really. I actually learned this from the Bible. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 through 5 teaches us to consider others better than ourselves. So if you keep this concept in mind, when you're performing, you never have to get discouraged. When you find someone that's better than you on an instrument, it's not about who's better than you. There's always somebody better than you. Okay, you can keep a good perspective in terms of your role as a band member, which is to encourage and support your other bandmates, especially if you're a section player. All right, your role is to help. One of your roles is to help your lead players sound great. Okay, so even if you are better than your bandmate in skill, it doesn't matter at all. Your role is to help your other bandmates sound their best. If you take your attention off of yourself, then you can be a good support. All right, consider others better than yourself. And it actually turns out people like to work with good people. You actually get more work that way. Okay. There's an author that I love. His name is Wallace D. Wattles. He's no longer with us, but he wrote a book in the early 1900s, and it teaches on the competitive mind. The competitive mind prevents you from using your creative mind. Now, we are musicians, and we need to practice using our creative mind, but then we need to give the results of what we've created. All right, and this is possible when you are not so focused on yourself, but instead sharing with other people. So consider others better than yourself. That will help get the ego out of the way. Does that make sense? All right. So forget about your ego. Forget about your ego, or don't get stuck in it. The sixth maxim is to be authentic to yourself and to the music. Let's talk about the music first. You got to be authentic to the music. If you're authentic to the music, then you're going to become a better musician. Don't just get caught up in, I know how to play trumpet, and then you just like insert the same style on every genre, and that's not going to sound good. It's not going to feel good. You have to open up your awareness and know that you're likely sticking out like a sore thumb if you're playing the wrong articulations, for example. The way you play classical articulation is not the same in jazz. It's not the same in Latin American music, and on and on and on. Okay, so how are you going to make sure you're playing music authentically? You're going to listen to a lot of music. Listen to a lot of music, and then of course you're going to imitate what you hear, but then you have to perform. All right, so insert yourself in an environment where people have already studied what you're trying to learn, and they can help you. All right, that actually leads me to my next maxim, but I guess I have to wait and get to that. But the point is that you're going to study, and you're going to just basically enforce the things that you learn. I'll give you an example really quick. When I was first learning the Latin American style of music, I noticed something was different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I just knew that I really liked it. But it took me the second set of music. I looked around, and that's when I realized, oh man, there's no drum set here. Oh, that's what it is. This style of music does not require a drum set as the primary driver in the rhythm section. Now, there was percussion, but there was no drum set on that particular night. And so I remember the saxophonist that I was working with gave me some hand percussion when I wasn't playing my trumpet. And I looked at it, and I'm thinking, I've never practiced this instrument in my life. I don't even know what I'm doing with this. And I set it down on the other side. He gave me a different piece of hand percussion, and I did the same thing. I set it down. He gave me a third piece of hand percussion. I was about to set it down, and he yelled, "Play it!" I said, "What?" He said, "Play it!" I'm like, okay. So then I had to play whatever it was. I think it was cowbell. And if you've never played cowbell, oh my goodness, it's harder than it looks if you're paying attention, because you have to line up the quarter note with the conga player, and that's a big responsibility. And so one lesson that I learned is, I already knew this, but I learned it at a different level, is that every individual is responsible for time. Don't you ever put your responsibility of time on another musician. If you're performing any instrument at any time, time is your responsibility also. Okay? Now that's a valuable lesson that you can take with you today if you didn't learn anything else. All right. Um, so that's an example of being authentic to the music. You got to put yourselves in those scenarios where you're going to learn something new, okay, and be authentic to it. Another thing similar is I remember when I first played in a funk group. This particular band had been working for 30 years, so I was told, and they never missed a week of performing live. And I believed it. I don't know if it was true, but I believed it because the groove was like nothing else I've ever experienced in my life before or since in a live situation. And I remember thinking that I had a really good handle on trumpet, and maybe I did, but I didn't understand how to play that style of music in an authentic way. And so you have to be humble enough to realize if you're not quite lining up, and then you have to be humble enough to study to to close the gap on where you're lacking. Okay, so that requires you to have honest conversations with your peers and your mentors, and record yourself and listen back and make adjustments. This is an ongoing journey of refinement. Okay, all right. So you got to be authentic to the music, and you got to be authentic to yourself to basically be honest with yourself if you're not quite reaching your goals in execution. Okay. Also, I say one more thing. To be authentic to yourself simply means to tell yourself the truth. So it kind of goes back to the previous maxim, and you just have to basically humble yourself. All right. You can get further if you're humble. All right. One more thing I'll say: especially if you're a composer or a band leader, write music, and you have to be okay with being vulnerable to share your music with people. It's a pretty intimate process to write music and perform it and share it with people. It's a pretty intimate thing, and it could be uncomfortable to make yourself so vulnerable. I mean, people might not like it, right? They might have something critical to say about your music. You're literally pouring out your heart, and they might say, I don't like this song. But don't take it personal. I mean, everything's not for everyone. And at the same time, the criticism might be used to make your music better. You know, you could make some adjustments. All right, so that's what I'll say about that. Let's just go on to the final maxim. I kind of hinted at this, but the final maxim is perform early and as often as possible. All right. Now, there are pressures that a performance can bring about that can only be produced in a performance, not in a private practice session, not even in rehearsal, but performance brings certain things out of you, and we need to perform. You understand? I learned this lesson at various degrees throughout my life, but I want to tell you about my first performance as a band director. I felt it was really uncomfortable. And the reason is that was my first performance where I really wasn't performing on trumpet. And all of the work was done. I hadn't been used to that. So normally, as you know, the music's in your hands, the trumpet's in your hands. But for that performance, it was the students. I was up there waving my hands, but the execution was really up to them. And the mistake that I made was it was the end of the first semester, the winter concert, and that was the first performance that we were having with that group. And I learned my lesson, and I never made that mistake again. So what you really want to do is perform as early as you can and as often as possible, because you get lessons from those performances and you grow from them. And so this is what I tell people to do today, and this is what I practice, especially when I'm in a teaching role in front of young students. You want to get a performance in early. There's almost nothing too soon, almost. So grab your family members, have them sit on the couch and say, hey, I've been practicing this song this week. I want to perform it for you, right? And that graduates to some friends coming over, and you can play the same song for them or another one that you're working out. And that graduates to, hey, I've been practicing for a while. I know 6 or 7 songs. I think I want to host a concert of some type. It could be as small or as big as you want. And then that graduates to, if you want to take it this far, playing concerts in theaters. And that graduates to playing concerts in auditoriums. And that graduates to playing concerts in stadiums, if you want to go that far with it. And so as your skill improves, your audience grows with you. See? And this is how we learn. There's lessons that come with, at every stage. And one more thing I'll say about performance. Something unexpected always happens. And we need to learn how to respond. Sometimes the best response is no response. But in other times we have to do something very active and deliberate to draw attention away or bring attention to. And we have to be able to make those decisions quickly in real time. And performance helps us to keep quick on our feet. Okay? So, practice can only take you so far. Performance will take you the rest of the way. That's my way of saying perform as early and as often as possible. Those are the 7 maxims. Perform as often as possible. Consider others better than yourself. Be authentic to yourself and to the music. Flexibility is the master key to trumpet playing. My body is the primary instrument. Maintain a balanced practice routine and keep the horn on your face. All right. Those are my 7 maxims that really helped me along the way. I'm happy to share them with you. Which one is your favorite? Which one resonated most with you? Let me know in the comments section. Click the like button if this video helped you. And if you need a practice routine, I wrote one for you. It's in the comment section below. It's free. You just need to download it and it's yours. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Go ahead and continue your learning and I'll see you there. God bless.